And when we look at silver, I mean, I look at an asset, to me, that the phrase that comes to mind is asymmetrical risk reward. And it has maybe the best asymmetrical risk reward position I've ever seen in any asset. And that simply means, what asset can you own that has the lowest downside risk with the greatest upside potential?
In a riveting discourse, Andy Schectman delves into the profound story of silver, revealing its multifaceted journey from geological rarity to indispensable industrial marvel. With an expert eye, he unpacks the historical and contemporary dynamics driving its demand and scarcity, all while uncovering its covert role in the intricacies of global geopolitics. Through Schectman's compelling insights, the allure of silver emerges as not just an investment opportunity, but a compelling narrative of resilience, innovation, and strategic significance in an ever-evolving world. So, watch the full video, and let's listen to Andy again.
Yeah, again, when you take a look at gold, to me, the thing to keep in mind is that it's, I don't know, I guess you could say it's the tortoise, not the hare. It moves slowly and methodically, and, you go back to the beginning of the century, go back to 2000, over the last 24 years, it's appreciated roughly by 7.8% per year, very slowly, very methodically. But a couple of things that I would say as you look at gold that really resonate with me. Number one, in 2019, the most well-funded and well-informed and sophisticated and powerful bank on the planet, the Bank of International Settlements, which is really viewed as the central bank or central bank, reclassified gold as the world's only other tier one reserve asset. Now, that's very important to me, because when you realize that really over the last 6 or 7 years, we've seen the central banks of the world, who I would say are not only the most well-funded, but more importantly, the most well-informed traders on the planet, have not only gone on a repatriation spree where they're repatriating all of their gold holdings, both from the New York Fed and the Bank of England, but also on a purchasing spree to where over the last 3 years in particular, the most well-informed traders on the planet have accumulated more gold than at any time in the last 100 years. So I think the most important thing when we talk about gold is that it is important enough to be reclassified the only other tier one reserve asset other than dollars or treasuries, and important enough to be accumulated by the central banks at a level we've never seen before. And really, again, a very important topic in this removal of counterparty risk. We've seen a tremendous amount of repatriation of gold from these hubs. And I think that's very, very relevant in the time that we are heading into. And I know that that's a constant theme with Bitcoin as well, is an asset that is not simultaneously someone else's liability. And I think that's very important here, because if the central banks were just buying and leaving it at the Fed and leaving it at the Bank of England, it would have less impact on me. But to see them repatriate it and to have constantly gold and silver being bled dry out of the LBMA and the COMEX and shipping eastward, to me, says a lot about where we are. So again, I think the best is certainly ahead for gold. But, one of the problems that people have with gold is that it moves in a very methodical fashion. It isn't instant gratification, but, it has been moving slowly and steadily. And when we look at silver, I mean, I look at an asset, to me, that the phrase that comes to mind is asymmetrical risk reward. And it has maybe the best asymmetrical risk reward position I've ever seen in any asset. And that simply means, what asset can you own that has the lowest downside risk with the greatest upside potential? And when you look at silver, look, it's coming out of the ground right now at a ratio of 7-1, silver to gold. And for 5,000 years, that was 16-1, the ratio. So it's depleting in nature, and it's found in a form called epithermal, very near the surface, as your skin is epidural, epithermal meaning it's right near the surface. So the big deposits were found literally decades ago. And so what you see is an asset that is increasing in demand in green and digital applications. It's experienced a renaissance in monetary applications, and yet it is decreasing in nature. In fact, of the 1 billion ounces that came to market last year, roughly only 300 million came from companies that mine silver. The majority of all the silver that came to market came from byproduct mining of other metals that are completely off the radar of anyone looking for silver. They're mining gold or copper or lead or zinc, and they stumble across it, and a little bit of recycling. So it's an asset that is historically, in terms of its price relationship to gold, in terms of its geologic relationship, 5,000 years, it's way out of whack. And I think it might be one of the best investments I've ever seen. And again, at the beginning, I mentioned that to me, silver and gold are wealth. And I believe that to be true about silver, but an asset that is so copiously needed in so many areas. And, it's interesting too that the military industrial complex is an interesting topic, and I think it's worth mentioning in silver because, when I saw you at that conference in Vancouver, I had been there the year before, and the year before I had made a comment in my speech that there's roughly 500 ounces of silver in the tip of every Tomahawk cruise missile, and there was a man there that introduced himself to me, and he never really told me what he did. Well, he was there again on this last meeting, and he came up to me and he said, listen, I heard you say that last year. Actually, I'm a consultant for the Department of Defense, and I actually worked on the Patriot missile program. And he showed me all sorts of pictures. He said, don't worry, this is declassified. He said, but you're right. There's between 13 and 15 kilograms of silver in the tip of every Tomahawk cruise missile. And I asked myself, why is it that military applications for silver is not listed in the Silver Institute supply demand figure? And you look at the amount of munitions that are being issued across the globe and the military industrial complex that is supplying those munitions, whether it be to the United States or to the Ukraine or wherever it may be. And you ask yourself, why would 3 or 4 commercial banks be short the largest concentrated short position on any commodity traded on the COMEX in silver? Why would Bank of America be short 1 billion ounces of silver? Why in God's green earth would they ever do that? And the answer is certainly, you're talking about, I think, a constant need to hold the price down to fund wars all across the globe. And if you need silver in high-tech weaponry, in aerospace, then certainly you don't want it to be taking off. And when you look at an asset that is so out of whack, it's so out of whack historically, geologically, in every single way, logically, to me, it presents a very, very compelling argument that it should be owned. And I think the best is certainly ahead for silver. Even technically, we're looking at right now on the cusp of breaking out of a many year consolidation pattern, and it just popped above it. So, who knows where it goes from here, but certainly I think it is the most undervalued asset and underappreciated asset on the planet.
As we draw the curtains on this captivating exploration of silver, courtesy of Andy Schectman, we're reminded of the profound insights shared today. If you found this discussion as enlightening as we did, ensure you hit that like button, share it with fellow enthusiasts, and subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Let's continue to uncover the hidden treasures of the financial world together. Until next time, may your investments sparkle with brilliance and wisdom.